I didn't deserve this much mistreatment from my own son and his fiancée, but here we are. My name is Alina, 50 years old, and my son Joe, 34, and his fiancée Priscilla, 30, treated me poorly. I thought I raised Joe right, but I was a single mother working in New York City, busting my butt off to ensure he had everything at his disposal. I had Joe at a very young age, so I dropped out of high school to take care of him and earn some income. His father unfortunately passed away 2 months after he was born in a horrific car accident. He was getting diapers for me. I have lived a complicated life, but always ensured my son got everything he desired. I didn't have that luxury growing up. I met his fiancée last year when they first started dating. She always felt a little off by me, but it's increased as the wedding has gotten closer. I don't know what I did or if I had done anything. Regardless, like when Joe was a child, I wanted to make sure he had everything he wanted. So when he asked if I could pay for his wedding and the venue, I said yes. I wasn't aware of how much he wanted me to help. Maybe 500 or 1,000 at most. Nope, not even close. He wanted me to pay 10 grand for the wedding, which included the venue, the reception, and a down payment on her wedding dress. I thought I taught you to always live within your means.
Of course I do. It's just Priscilla likes things a certain way, and I want it to be perfect for her.
It will be, but that's too much.
Okay, fine.
I have come a long way from waitressing to working in retail. I still work in retail as a cashier. The benefits are great and the pay isn't so bad. I knew in my heart that I would not be able to provide 10,000, but I made sure that it was at a reasonable range for me to contribute. I gave my son $5,000. I understand money is tight for him, but what did he expect? I tried to tell him to postpone the wedding so that he could save up money, but did he listen to me? No. As the wedding approached, Priscilla became a bit of a bridezilla. She went from shouting at her own mother, cussing out the wedding planner for something small, to even snubbing her bridesmaids. I made sure to stay out of her way, but I couldn't always. A few days before the wedding, we had the rehearsal dinner. They had two choices, chicken and steak, with a vegetable and mashed potatoes. Both were absolutely delicious. If only I had duck as I asked, everything would be almost perfect. Was that a dig at me? As far as I'm concerned, Priscilla had not asked her parents for money. She depended solely on Joe and me.
I think the chicken is good.
Me too. I should have kept my mouth shut. Of course you would. What do you mean by that? The entire table went quiet. Nothing. Her parents, Sally and Henry, were no better than her. The two only chuckled with her, leaving me further and further out of the joke.
So Joe, how's school? Tough. Engineering is no walk in the park.
I'm sure it is, honey, but remember what I taught you? One step at a time. It's hard to say that to someone when you didn't even finish high school. She laughed afterwards. Her bridesmaids all looked shocked and began whispering amongst themselves. Meanwhile, her parents stared awkwardly in my direction, as if I had grown two heads. Education is important, Joe, so I'm happy you're still going strong. Her mother only said, No one came to my defense, not even my son? How could everyone stand idly aside? Did no one have a heart? After dinner, I pulled my son to the side, while everyone else was partaking in wine tasting. What the hell was that all about?
What?
I understand Priscilla is under a lot of stress, and so are you, but you can't even defend me? I'm your mother.
Oh my god, please don't make this a bigger issue than what it is. She only meant that you would never understand the stress I'm going through.
Won't be able to understand stress? How about this? I was a single mother raising a son alone while working 3 jobs, helping with your homework and ensuring I had everything that would benefit you in life.
You don't have to throw it in my face all the time, okay? I understand you did a lot for me, but our lives are different now. And that stress is different. This is my future.
He didn't try to apologize or see my side of things. Priscilla humiliated me. I understand the stressors are different, but he can't just sit there and act like what Priscilla did wouldn't hurt. I went the rest of the night sitting alone while the rest of the mini party participated in the festivities. The next day only got worse. The bridesmaids, Sally, Priscilla, and I went to our final fitting for the wedding. Again, Priscilla was cold with everyone, but she didn't even bother talking to me. She wasn't always like this. When she first started dating my son, she was a lovely girl, but it's like as soon as my son proposed to her, her true colors were out on the display. I kept trying to reason that the wedding was just causing this behavior, but at what expense? My dignity? When she put on her dress and did a final twirl, I said, "You look beautiful, darling." "Thanks." I could have sworn she rolled her eyes after. Her three bridesmaids began to hype her up. I believe their names were Felicia, Kyla, and Penny. "You look gorgeous, girl. Joe is going to pass out when he sees you." "I can't believe the wedding is only a couple of days." "How do you feel?" "Nervous, excited, but ready to start a new chapter. We just started to look at places. Our apartment is far too small for this big personality." "Oh, I didn't know you guys were moving soon. I thought Joe would want to save some money first." I couldn't help but interject, but for something so drastic, you would think I would be informed they were moving. "Joe's fine with money. What are you talking about?" I couldn't help but suppress a smile. "Besides, we're hoping to start a family in a year or two, and we want to be involved in a nice neighborhood." "Oh, what city are you thinking of?" "Well, we're moving out of state." "Out of state? Why? New York has a range of fantastic schooling programs." "I'm sure you would know." "It does. That's where Joe and even you went to school." She turned around with such venom in her eyes. "You would be a person who would know what schools were appropriate." "Just say what you want to say. You obviously don't like the idea I didn't finish high school." I have never been the type to let someone run their mouth, especially an ungrateful snot. It got increasingly tense inside the dressing room. "I find it funny that you have so many opinions on things you know nothing about." "I know about raising children." "You barely did that. Joe told me you were never home." I stood up, my heart rising as fast as my words. "Now listen here. You won't know what I had to go through to be the woman I am today." Ladies, can we settle down for a second? "Why would I? Your daughter is an ungrateful brat." "I beg your pardon? Who do you think you are?" "You heard me. And with all the things I have done for this wedding?" "Huh. What have you done except intrude into conversations you have no business to be in?" "Please, stop acting as if I had no part. Every penny from my savings account was put towards this wedding. And you can sit there and act like that doesn't mean anything, but I know the truth. It doesn't matter what I do, but a simple thank you would make this all easier to endure." "What are you talking about?" "Don't act like you have forgotten. I have put $5,000 into your wedding, and you still treat me like a peasant." "What? You're a liar." Honey, Joe asked me and father for some money too." Sally turned to me. I didn't know you put down money too, Alina." "I didn't know you did either." Priscilla only stared out into space. She was at a loss for words. "How much did you put down, Mom?" 5 as well." "Are you serious? The wedding only cost 20. I put in 10 myself." It appears that the couple was supposed to split everything in half, but instead it looks as if Joe wasn't paying anything. There was nothing I could say. My son was cheating on the system and decided not to share with his partner. She went quiet for the rest of the day. A part of me wanted to warn Joe what had happened today. But another part was upset that my son would go to such lengths to avoid paying for his own wedding. I unintentionally began the ruination of their marriage story. The next day, I was expecting a call from Joe, chewing me out for exposing him, but I got nothing. When the wedding day came, I didn't know what to expect. Everything seemed to go as planned, but alas, this would change in a matter of hours. The wedding was set up for perfection. I was in the bride's room with the bridesmaids and the rest of the lot. Priscilla could barely look at herself in the mirror. It was then I understood her. She was a shallow woman, but a woman that did the hard work that put her into success. And to meet a man like my son who asked to borrow money from her parents was a no-go in her book. Her blank stare said it all, but somehow she was still here, no longer yelling or cussing anyone out, but just barely hanging in there to stay. You ready? Her mother asked once she helped her put her veil on. I think I just need a moment alone. Are you sure, sweetheart? Yes. The bridesmaids got up and left, followed by her mother. I was the last to leave, and my eyes lingered in stature. She looked at the mirror, her face painted with beauty and eyeshadow, but as I shut the door, she began taking off the veil. The wedding organizer came to our aid and told us that the wedding would start soon. We got into our formation. At first, I thought we were going to wait for her, but instead, we were ordered to start the walk down the aisle. Everything felt so surreal. But shouldn't we wait for Priscilla?
I'll get her. No worries. She must be having last-minute jitters.
She had no idea. We went to the front doors. Behind, there would be my son at the altar and a crowd of people waiting for the bride. As the doors opened, the traditional wedding music began to play, and my eyes locked on my joyful son. As I walked down the aisle, I looked around the room to see the bright eyes. As I looked back at Joe, he gave me an easy smile. I kissed him on the cheek and went about my business. Everyone behind me walked down the aisle, and then it was time for the bride. Sally and I took our seats in the front row. Her husband was nowhere to be seen, as he was supposed to be walking Priscilla down the aisle. The music began to drag, and the entire crowd waited for a good 10 minutes. I watched Joe's face like a hawk, watching his smile drop slowly as the silence of the air ate away at the crowd. After 10 minutes, the wedding planner came pacing down the aisle towards my son Joe. A solemn expression read on her face as she handed him a note in response. She had done it. Priscilla had left him at the altar. He was so embarrassed by the whole situation, having still said no word to anyone. The wedding planner just turned to look at the crowd.
Hey everyone, we will be postponing the wedding. Please go into the reception hall.
I sprang out of my seat, heading straight to my son, while the crowd from behind began leaving the room. Murmurs could be heard all around. What happened? Joe, trying to hold back tears, said,
It's over.
He dramatically dropped the piece of paper and left the altar. I picked it up and read the letter. Dear Joe, I know what you did. And here I thought your mother was using you for money. At least, that's what you have been saying since I met you. Here I am to find out that this whole relationship was a lie. Did she pay for my wedding ring too? I laughed at that. The ring in question she's referring to was my grandmother's ring. What's worse was you used my parents' money, something I never wanted, and worse, you made me believe your mother only wanted to be in our lives because of the money you would give her. I find it hard to believe you ever gave her a penny. I'll mail you back the ring. It's over. All this time, he was lying to her about money? Why was he so ashamed of saying he needed help? My relationship with my son had since been estranged. Perhaps it's my fault for his misbehavior, but recently I got a handwritten letter from Priscilla apologizing for her behavior. I don't know if I fully believe her, as she treated me so poorly for unnecessary reasons. Regardless, however, I did appreciate the apology. As of late, Joe is working at a food court at the local mall. He's taking a break from going to school, realizing that sometimes you need to earn the cash to earn the prize.